shall we make a start? Right, so today I'm going to be using this fabulous Crocus Field layering stencils. I'm actually not using the embossing folder and the die today, but I have already done 3 cards to show you, just basically to show you how different they can be. So you know, you don't have to just stick with one idea, as all of Lisa's things are. They are so versatile. I'm also using the pastel dewdrops on one of the cards. I'm using the texture stamps because I love this set. I might have mentioned it before. I'm also using the foiled and plain sticker sentiments, the nested scalloped and stitched rectangles, the framed sentiments, the happy and smile. I'm using the smile on here. I am challenging myself to use at least one of Lisa's older products every time I do a live. I might be using mainly new stuff, but I am challenging myself to go back and use at least one older product, just so that you can see that they will always work together. Okay, and I'm also using the nested stitch bubble squares, and then this one is one of Lisa's first, I mean you can see it was number 34, craft stamps with dies. So you stamp the sentiment and then you can cut a mat and layer as well. Cracking set this was. Don't think it's still in stock, because it was one of the really older ones. Right, now I'm using the stencils, but I'm not using the whole of the stencils, okay, because this card is based on there are a couple of cards in the group that the DT have done. I think one was Donna's and one was Lorraine's. So girls, I've pinched your ideas and I've put them together on a card today, so I hope you don't mind, but I just thought they looked so good. I wanted to do something similar. All right, this is my card that I'm going to stencil onto, and this is the sentiment that I'm going to put on. Okay, now you might be able to see that I'd actually drawn round the sentiment. Okay, so not completely, but just to give me a rough idea of where the sentiment goes in the middle of that card. All right, because what I don't want is my stenciling to overlap where the words are, because otherwise you won't be able to see all of the stenciling, and I don't want that. So I'm going to put number 1 down on here. I'm using my Ultimate 2, the beauty of which means I can have it upside down and I can have my flowers the right way up. So I think that's, I really like that, it's cool. So I'm going to pop my card down and I'm going to work out where my flowers can go without encroaching on any of that sentiment. Okay, and I think that is about right. Now because I don't want this piece of card to move, I am just going to tape it down onto my piece of paper that I've put down already. And I've put paper down because obviously I might go over the edge of the card down here. I might go over the edge of the card and I don't want to go over onto my silicone mat. I know it will wipe clean, or I can clean it, but I'm essentially lazy and I can't be bothered, so I've put my paper down instead. So my colours are going to be reds, oranges, yellows. All right, so I'm going to start off with my reds, I think, because I want this outer set of petals and things to be the darkest colour. I just want to make sure that everything I've got there is going to be red, which it is. So, and I'm coming in with my stencil brushes only because when you get these, there are a few places like this piece here and this piece here, because the detail is so fabulously detailed, these pieces are sort of a little bit flimsy. So don't go in like a bull at a gate and pull them up, otherwise your ink will go under these pieces and then your stenciling won't look right, and you may risk tearing the mylar. I don't think you will because it's quite strong, but it's just to be aware, just to be careful. Okay, so I'm going to start here. I'm going to go in with my red strawberry sundae, and I'm going to do my outer petals onto my grey. I've not done onto a grey card before, so it will be interesting to see what it looks like, because the other three that I've done are completely different. In fact, all three are different to each other, just to show you really how different it can look. Okay, so I've gone in with my first layer, and my first layer is that beautiful red. Okay, quite like that. Now I'm going in with number 2, and this one's going to be orange. Okay, again I'm going in with my stencil brushes. Okay, so I'm coming in with my orange, my early sunrise. These are all from set 1 of the inks. The greens that I'm going to use, sort of what little bit of green I'm going to put on here, are from set 2. So you can see that all these inks all work together. So you can see that I'm starting with the orange at the bottom of these petals, and I'm not going all the way to the top, because the top is going to be yellow. Okay, so I'm going to go in with my juicy pineapple and do the top yellow, and then sort of blend the colours in together. And they do blend really, really beautifully, and hopefully there won't be too much of a line from that early sunrise into that juicy pineapple. And if you work from the darker colour outwards, your blending should be better anyway. Okay, so it's quite difficult actually inking onto a darker card, because the card really seems to like soaking up the ink, but that's fine. I've got time, I'm not rushing it. I will go over the details of the special offer again before I finish, just so that anybody that joined us late knows all the details as well. Okay, so don't worry if you joined late and you missed a bit, I'll catch up. Okay, so there's my flowers. See, I have gone over the sentiment, but never mind. Coming with number 3. Now you can see here that there isn't a great deal of number 3 that I need, but I'm going to go in with my red because it's going to show up on top of those, that orange and that yellow. And I'm going to get really dark on this piece because this is red on red. I might actually add another colour on top. You see here I have bent my mylar on here because I was a bit heavy handed, but it'll be fine, it'll be absolutely fine. I am just going to add another colour into that red, and I'm just going to go in with my painted eggshell right brush on top, just to give it a bit of a different colour, just so as it stands out a little bit more. That's better. And then come in with number 4, and there is only a tiny bit of this that's on this part of the card, because obviously I'm not using the whole of the stencil. So we'll go in with this quite heavy and just do this little part of the leaf. And if I didn't do it, it wouldn't make sense. So there's my flowers one end. Now I'm going to turn this round and I'm going to do exactly the same the other end, but I probably won't put as much of the flowers on at the top as I have at the bottom, okay? But I know that it's going to be sort of around there. So let's go back to number 1 and work out where these flowers are going to go without encroaching on my sentiment. I'm going to come a little bit higher so that I can move my sentiment up, because I've already gone over it down here. Okay, so again I'm going to take that down, and then I'm going back in with that red. I'll use the bigger one, I think. Go back in with the red and do these flowers again. I'm not sure that the backing card that I've used, actually, looking at how deep these colours have come out, it might look a little bit, the backing card might be a little bit too light for this piece. So again, I'm coming in with the yellow. You see, drawing around the sentiment really worked, didn't it? Because I'm gonna lose some of the flowers anyway, but never mind. You will still get the impression that I wanted you to get. So it'll all be fine. Okay, so that's my yellow, and then I'm going to just come in and add the centres to these flowers. And again, I'm going back to use my red just so that they stand out. And you can see I have come further up because I'm not using this part, which is what I used before. So I have raised the flowers a little higher, just not quite high enough, but never mind. If anybody says, oh, you've gone over the letters there, don't send them another card. That's my theory. Okay, and then we're just going to pop that. I don't think actually that green might not appear. No, it's not going to. I'm not going to bother with that one because it's not going to make any difference. Okay, so take my tape off there. You can see how well used this tape is. There's hardly any tacky left on it now, but there's enough to keep my card in place. Now, before I move this away, I am just going to rub out those pencil marks, because obviously I'm going to put the sentiment in a slightly different place, because I've already inked over some of where I've coloured. So okay, that's better. So you see, that's just stenciled. There's no embossing on it. I'm not die cutting anything. It's just purely stenciled onto my card. Alright, I can still see pencil lines there. Hopefully that won't matter. So I've already done my sentiment, like I said. Now I can place this in the best place to avoid losing too many of those flower parts. I think that'll probably be about right, because I don't want to come any lower, because if I come lower I'm like, no, I'm going to stay higher, and that way I'm only losing this little piece here and a tiny little piece of that one, so I'm quite happy with that. So let's move this out of the way because I don't need that anymore. And there's my card blank. See, I was working yellow and grey, but now I've done the stenciling, I think maybe the yellow is a little bit too pale. Perhaps I could have gone with a deeper colour, but you know, never mind. So you can see that I've already put this down because I wanted to raise this up a little bit. So this piece is going flat against here. And this is as simple as this card gets, really. I've done the stenciling. Okay, let's add my glue. And again, I'm only going around the edges because I don't want that. Sometimes you get that sort of line underneath your card where your glue is, and I don't like to see that. Sometimes it dries and you can't see it, and sometimes it dries and you can. So I don't take the risk, I just go right round the edge. And really with this glue, that's all you need. Now, my 3D foam pads have literally arrived 10 minutes before I started, so I haven't had time to unpack them yet. So I am using 3D glue gel on this, and yes, I've got another tube because this one is on its last legs, as you can see. But I just want to raise up that sentiment because I do think it's worth making a feature of your sentiment. You want it to stand out. You don't want it to sort of just fade into the background. Bear with me, Angela. I'm gonna just run through all those details again in a minute, so just hang on in there for a second. Okay, so I'm going to put my sentiment down there, and that's it, job done. The sentiment does lift that yellow background, and I think, yeah, actually I think you're right. It is worth it. It's a good background. So I also did one using these. Now I know a lot of you have got these, so I used these on black card and I made this. Now I know the colours on here do look quite similar, but they are very different. Yeah, I probably should have gone with a different colour, but it is a different colour on there, and you can see the background of here. All I've done is just use my sponges, and I think I've used this one just to go round the edge to tie it all in, and then I've used some of Lisa's fabulous Super Sparkle gems just to add a little bit more interest onto the card. And this is from the plain foiled and plain sticker sentiments as well, so that's just something a little bit different, but that looks really different to that. But then this one looks totally different to both of them, because all I've done with this one is, yes, I've inked the whole of the stencil, but I've just cut out one little piece, and I've used the Modern Florals foil plate. I think this was this Button Blooms and one of the sentiments, and I've just made a little 5x7 card out of one piece of that stencil. So you see, you don't have to use it all. But then if you wanted to go really OTT, you can do something like this. How cool does this look? I love this. So I've coloured the stencil in 3 different colourways, and I've cut one of the large bubble squares, and I've used the texture stamp to just stamp in the background, and this is the Coral Beach stamped in the background. So I've used purples, I've used the pinks, and I've used oranges and the yellows, and I've just made it into a field of crocuses because it's called Crocus Field. So I've done 3 different layers. It's all done with glue gel. So if I show you that way, can you see that glue gel there? So there are 3 different layers there, and all I've done is cut each one in a different place and placed it on the square, so it actually sits within that square. And then I've used the Smile sentiment from that set that I showed you earlier on, and added some pastel dewdrops just to finish it off. So you see, if you wanted to go simple, you can. If you want to go OTT, you can. If you want to do something equally as beautiful, you can. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous set. I know all of Lisa's stuff is good, but this has to be one of my absolute favourites. It's fabulous. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope I've given you some ideas to use Crocus Field when you get it. And I look forward to seeing all your makes in the group. I have to say, this is my favourite. Have a fabulous weekend, everybody. See you soon. Bye now.